From the combined crew of blindandroidusers.com and accessibleandroid.com, it's time for your favorite Android podcast. Kick back now and enjoy another fine episode from these fanboys and gals as they navigate Android from a blindness perspective. And now, here's your crew. From Blind Android Users Podcast, this is episode 213, our very first episode for the year 2025, and we're recording today on January 4, 2025. I'm Warren here with my buddies here. We got three of us in here today. We got
John Dyer.
Thank you, one.
And that's it, folks. We are the lucky ones today, and we're so delighted to be coming your way today. It's a brand new year, and we're excited about it. What we have coming up, though, we have battery versus performance. Which one is better? Shall we be glomming to the battery power as the best thing, or is performance that matters? And then for the app of the week, we have a file managing app. And that would be the conclusion of today's episode. John, what's going on in Virginia?
It's good here. We got, I don't want to call it snow, but it was a little bit of snow yesterday. It covered the trash cans and the fence. It didn't stick to the ground, but that's more snow than we've seen here in 3 years. So I'll take it.
Yeah, so that's snow. It's just that you didn't have enough. So I call it a dusting of snow.
Yeah,
and,
it wasn't quite cold enough. I think it was upper 30s last night. So had it been a little bit colder, it would have stuck better.
Yeah.
But this morning I pre-ordered. Well, I didn't pre-order. I don't know what to call it. I put a deposit down on a OnePlus 13.
Ooh, that's Karen's phone.
Yeah. So they're running this promotion here in the US where if you put $50 down now, before knowing anything about the device, because they haven't technically announced it for here, but it's out in China, so we kind of have a good idea of what we're getting into. But yeah, if you put $50 down now, they'll give you a free item. So I chose the OnePlus Watch 2T or something. 2R, I think it's called. So I'll get that for free because I put $50 down.
So it's not like a random thing. You get to choose what you want. So instead of them, maybe it's just say, here's a cleaning cloth. That's your price.
Yeah. You actually get to choose the free item you wanted. So they had the OnePlus Watch 2, but that said sold out. So I guess some people had already gotten that. You could also choose the earbuds, but I chose the watch. Is it 2R or R? I don't know. The R version of the watch.
Yeah, I think they have a couple watches, right? Maybe even 3. Maybe the newer one is the third one. I don't remember, but I know they have more than one watches. There's a new one on the horizon. Probably that's the one you got.
But they also let you select the color and storage of your device. So you're kind of reserving your device as well.
How big of a storage did you get?
They don't tell you. They just say standard storage or advanced storage. So I choose the advanced. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same as last year. The base is going to be 12 gigabytes RAM and
128 or 256?
128. Yeah, or no, 256, and then the upgrade will be 512 and 16. That's my guess.
Nice. Well, we're looking forward to you unboxing it, and maybe that will get our appetites wet to where we can, be, clamming for it, and we'll go find and order it, whatever, if it's good. I like OnePlus devices. They feel nice in the hand. Just that, maybe now that I'm on a US mobile, it would work with my network.
Yeah, I figured it. I couldn't really go wrong because they let you back out if you want to. Like if you change your mind, you can get your $50 back. In fact, if you don't do anything, after a month, like if you don't continue on with the pre-order, after a month, they'll automatically refund you the $50. So there's really nothing to lose, I guess.
Yeah, so that's good. It's not like a non-refundable should you decide to change your mind.
Yeah.
Karen girl, we just talked about your phone. What's going on with you? And what's your comment about this phone before you even tell us as to whether you got a dusting of snow or not?
Well, first, I want to say great choice, John. I'm sure that you will review it and say, this is the best phone. Karine was right. It's better than the S25 Ultra that will be released in January. Yeah.
Oh my
And,
gosh. I can't
well,
believe you're pouring cold water on your phone, Karen. You know, that's a Samsung device you're pouring cold water on.
Yeah, because I'm obliged to use it before. Okay, so the thing is that I was trying to get the OnePlus 12R, but the problem was that it wasn't here at all, and the shop owners were like, "What? What are you talking about? Is that a phone or a mathematical operation, or what's the point?" So people don't know about this at all. And like the people who know about it told me that, okay, you can't get it here. It's not here. And the problem is that if you get it from another country, if you import it, you have to pay the custom tax, which is about 10 or 12% of the actual price. So this will make it more expensive. So for this reason, I purchased a Samsung, but I'm not a Samsung fan, especially with the talkback troubles.
I see. Well, that makes sense. I can see why you would rather have a OnePlus. And to be honest, the OnePlus is a damn good device. They are very good devices, well crafted, and then most especially when it comes with the Google version of TalkBack. So that's probably, in your case, it may trump the Galaxy here, even though I want to put my money down on a Galaxy, but I don't know. John, who would you rather put your money down on, the Galaxy or the OnePlus? I mean, we have access to both.
If I had to choose one, I would stick with Galaxy for now, but I'm starting to get a little pissed off about this talkback situation. So they have me at least thinking about other phones.
Yeah, but you have to give it a chance before deciding. So we will ask you later when you get the phone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But you had a OnePlus before, though, didn't you? I thought you did. Or was it the Asus?
Yeah, I did have it. I accidentally sold it. So I let a friend borrow it who has a kind of a small YouTube channel. And he wanted to do a review. Since I wasn't using it at the time as my daily driver, I just shipped it to him so he could do a review. And he ended up like saying, "I really like this phone. How much did you charge me?" Yeah, how much did you charge me for it? And I just kind of like gave a price that was like almost unreal. It was like
you just basically gave it to him.
No. It was a high price. I gave him a price that I thought he wouldn't want. And before he even responded to me, I saw the money come into my PayPal account, and I was like, "Oh,
well, I'll be.
I guess I accidentally sold my phone." Yeah, I quoted him a price that I thought he wouldn't.
He would say, "Nah, too much."
Yeah,
but he still gave you the money. That's nice. Well, you know, sometimes they say, "Buy low and sell high," right?
mm-hmm.
Nice move. And now, the Android Basics segment. This is a segment where we discuss the things that power your device from behind the scenes. And now, here's this week's episode, Android Basics. Let's now turn on to our subject matter of the day. And of course, we're talking about that battery versus performance. And so we just started talking about the OnePlus. I know that the OnePlus, I'm not sure if they are good in big batteries. Though most of their phones usually top out, about the 4,000 plus milliamp, or maybe 5,000. I don't remember.
I think this OnePlus 13 is 6,000 now. I think.
Yeah, you may be right.
Because last year it was like 5,500 or 5,400, something like that.
Yeah, and I remember our friend Harith was reviewing, or he got a couple of phones. One of them was the OnePlus Ace, and I think that thing has a big battery. And I think the newer ones like that, with that big battery capacity. So the question is, which one should one go? Which one is better? Is it battery performance, how long your battery lasts, or the performance? Snappy, snap, snap, snap. Very powerful phone. Which one is better? Karen, let's start with you. What's your take on this?
Well, I think that the best thing is to have something balanced. Like, okay, you don't need your battery to stay like to stay for 3 days maybe or something. It's impossible right now in these days, unless if you get the phone that Harith purchased, which was the Yucatel or something like that. It has 15,000 or something. So it was crazy. But
Oh,
it
give
wasn't
me
really.
that one.
No way. Like
You wouldn't have to go to the gym anymore if you had that phone.
exactly for 400
Heavy.
grams all the time in your hand, it's crazy. So yeah, I think the best thing is to have something balanced. But I think that right now you don't really have to choose one over another, because even the high-end processors and GPUs, they are trying to the companies are trying to make them like power efficient. They are trying to make them not really consuming so much battery. But the most important thing, I think, is for companies to give us also the choice. I mean, like Samsung, it was making some throttling. It was making some like they were decreasing the power of the device. They were trying to say, okay, we are saving battery, we're saving the device. So if you are going to give me the best processor and the best specs, and then you take them from me in the name of battery, that doesn't make sense. And I should be able to choose. I don't mind losing more battery. I'm just getting this, and I should get this. So this is the point, I think. So I think Samsung started to become less aggressive. However, they are still aggressive, sort of, especially with software stuff. They are really, like, sometimes you may have a Samsung device, and then you turn off the screen, and after 5 minutes you get a call, a WhatsApp call, for example, then it will not ring. It will show you a missed call notification. So they are just trying to save battery as much as they could. So this is not really the way to go. So like in summary, just let it be balanced and let the user have the choice to whatever I want. Let me take it and let me use my phone as I want it to be.
Yeah, Samsung is very aggressive with the battery optimization. I have to, and you shouldn't have to do this. Anytime I set up a phone from Samsung, any media player application like an audiobook player or a podcast player, I always have to remind myself to go in and turn off battery optimization, because, and it shouldn't be this way. Like the apps that you're going to be constantly listening to stuff, they shouldn't like shut off in the middle of you listening to them with the screen off, and that will happen sometimes on Samsung devices if you don't go in and turn off optimization for those specific apps.
So in other words, though, you see, they're a little bit concerned about the battery, because the battery, as we all can agree on, is the most important part of any phone experience. And I know, living here in the States, I personally probably wouldn't be worried about battery performance necessarily, the longevity of a battery, so to speak. But if I were in a place that, battery, or rather electricity is very iffy, or whatever to say the least, I probably would be looking at something with a bigger battery, because performance, if I have a middle of the road performance, I think that would be good enough for me. But I think I'll prioritize long battery life over performance. That's how I'll see it.
not necessarily being a person who lives in a country where electricity has its issues. But so I can talk about this. Well, you don't need. I mean, usually the phones that have the better battery and the better time with like you can just have 2 days or whatever or more maybe sometimes. Usually they are the phones with low-end processors, because those processors are usually less power hungry. And the manufacturers just give you a big battery and say, okay, this will stay for long, and they will advertise it as this, and they will be usually cheap ones. But having like this low-end processor will have its impacts, will have its troubles. So I think the best thing is to have a battery that, like, for example, 5,000 is good, and you get a good processor. Even the high-end processors, the phone will be able to last for about a day. And I think that having a phone that lasts for a day is not bad at all. And, you know, people who are living in this type of countries will already have their alternatives. Like, we will have power banks, we will have a lot of backup plans to have to let things go as they should. So for this reason, I think we don't have to choose, and 1 day battery life is good.
I agree. Well, you know, because when I traveled to Africa, you know, like I did early last year, I can't believe we're saying last year. So it's going to be like 1 year ago, coming up in February. What had happened was that, you know, there are days that you even have like 2 or 3 days without electricity. But like you said, though, there are, you know, what they call the charging stations. You know, people have businesses basically just charging batteries with a generator and all of that. So it created a market, or has created a market for people. So it's a good idea, because now someone has a business where they're charging phones and stuff like that. So I can see where you're coming from. But of course, you know, if I have a good performance, most batteries these days would last at least maybe more than a day or a little over a day, depends on how you use it. So we're really getting better with the battery performance. And when it comes to, you know, this also ties into whether, you know, how does one like it when it comes to updates, you know, maybe OS updates. And usually, so we say, if my battery is not going to last that long to support those updates, then, you know, which one should I take, right? So we're looking at that, the same idea here, the performance. And frankly, I think for me, probably I want to go then with performance over battery, knowing that one could get a power bank or could give money to someone to charge it for you. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. So the good thing is that we don't have to choose, really, you know, because even these flagship, really powerful phones these days, like Karine mentioned, they last all day. So you don't have to choose, really. But, you know, if I had to choose between the two, I don't know what I would do. I want my phone to get through the whole day. I don't want to have to. So when I first got the Flip, not the Flip 6, but I think it was the Flip 4, that only had like a 3,300 milliamp hour battery, and I was having to charge it at some point during the day, you know, so I'm not a fan of that. So I would choose battery over performance if I had to, but it also depends on the performance, because for example, Samsung lets you choose whether to let your processor the performance profile for your processor. So you could go in and have it set to normal, or you could set it to light. And if you set it to light, I don't know what percentage of the full power it uses, but it doesn't use it ever at full power, the processor. And when I set it to light, I don't really notice the difference. Like with talkback usage, it's still just as fast. With you know, I do every week for the podcast, I render YouTube videos, and I do that on my phone with Audiolab, and that takes a lot of processing power. And even when it comes to rendering videos on my phone, which I do for YouTube every week. I use Audiolab for that, and that takes a lot of processing power. Even having the performance profile set to light, I don't really notice it taking any longer. I mean, I'm sure it does take longer, but it's not anything noticeable. So I just keep it on light all the time. So I guess in a way, I am preferring battery life to performance. Although, like I said, it's not really something you have to choose these days, which I think is good.
You know, mid-range phones, mid-rangers now have very good performance to where the lines between the flagship phones are kind of getting blurred and all of that. And so all that is performance. And now when you have a very good battery capacity on such a phone, it really makes you question, you know, whether it's worth the trouble getting a flagship device. And again, depending on where one is and depending on one's priority, whether one prefers a longer battery or one prefers a more powerful device, I think it comes to what one prefers. And I would love to hear from our listeners as to what they think about this subject matter, because it's a very important subject matter. You know, whether you want a very powerful device and then battery not lasting long or whatever, or you'd rather have a nice mid-ranger with a good battery life, and yet the performance is not something that flies a rocket to the moon. That is something that I would love to hear what our listeners have to say about such matters. It's a very important matter. And these days, I think just about every phone out there has some good performance. It's not like back in the day. And John, you are talking about 3,300 milliamp battery. Back in the day, that was a big battery. I remember. I'm talking about, you know, maybe like 7, 8, 9 or 10 years ago, maybe not even 10 years ago, because most of them were like 2,000 plus. If you have that much 2,400 milliamp battery, I think that 3,300 is like the mid 2010s, like 2015, 2016. I'm looking at things like the Pixel, the first Pixel. I think that thing was maybe like 3,000 or 3,100. I don't remember. And back then, you know, we were thinking, yeah, that has a great battery life and all of that. So it's really interesting to see how far we've come. And, you know, so far though, unless you're having some of the outliers like the OnePluses and some other phones from China, we still haven't moved too far from that 3,000 plus milliamp battery capacity. You still find, you know, flagship phones with 40 something hundred milliamp battery capacity and all of that. I think, in my never to be humble opinion, every damn phone out there, excuse my Espanol, should at least have like a 6,000 milliamp. I think that would be the sweet spot. Karen, what do you think?
I think 6,000. Well, I like to have a 6,000 capacity. I don't mind it, but I think that it's not going to happen. And it will add some thickness to the phone, which is something that I don't like, but it's good. I mean, the screens are becoming bigger. The processors are becoming also stronger and better. So yes, they are becoming also more power efficient. But yeah, they are like they need power. They need this battery, and the problem is that the batteries aren't able to move on with this. So they are not able to catch up with the battery technology. So I think we have to have some progress with battery capacity and with the battery also longevity. It's not like the batteries aren't able to keep up also with like the time. You're like in 2 years you will lose some of the battery capacity, and then for 3 years you will lose more. So I think that the thing that we need right now is for the batteries to become better, to improve. And this, I think, will give us the thing that we really want. So I don't know if they are going, because you hear about this and that and this and that, but until now there's nothing that is really important that's happening with respect to batteries.
Talking about this and that you just mentioned, wasn't it OnePlus that was supposedly coming up with some new battery technology that was going to be lasting for a very long time? I was reading about that, I think, sometime last year, and I was all excited about it. I'm like, gosh, it's not going to make me a OnePluser unless some other manufacturers, adapt that. I think if we have such a thing, that would be the sweet spot. So the take home here is that battery capacity or battery and performance go hand in hand. In order for me to have that great performance, I need a good battery, because if I have a great performance and I'm down in X number of hours while something is yet to be done, then I'm left wanting. And yet in the same breath, if I have a great battery and yet my performance sucks, then I still have something yet left to be desired. And so there's a balance, like you said, Karen, between the two. And the good news here is that we seem to have that balance, most especially when I look at these mid-rangers. They have great battery and the performance is not something in the toilet. So I think we have a good thing going, and I think we'll only be getting better from here. Up next is the App of the Week segment. This is a segment dedicated to app demonstrations. Should you have an app that you would like to demonstrate for our listeners, feel free to send us the recording of such an app demo to contact us at blindandroidusers.com. And now for this week's episode, here's your App of the Week. Well, now let's move on to our next segment. That will be the last segment for this episode. And I'm talking about File Manager from a company called File Manager Plus. And somehow this goes back to 2015, since when they jumped into the arena of file managers. And now here's that demonstration of File Manager. Hi. For episode 213, App of the Week, our very first App of the Week for the year 2025, this is demonstrating a file managing app simply called File Manager by a developer called File Manager Plus. For today's demonstration, I'll be utilizing my Pixel 9 XL Pro running Android 16 Developer Preview 2. And by the way, talking about Android 16, I'm almost positive we'll be seeing the very first beta for Android 16 this January 2025. And for my speech services, I'm using the Google Recognition and Speech Synthesis. I am on the Play Store and will now navigate to the About, and let's hear the description of the app, and then we'll go from here. Here is the About.
About this app heading. Google Play Store. File Manager details. Fast, easy to use and full-featured file manager app with cloud integration. File Manager Plus is an easy and powerful file explorer for Android devices. It's free, fast, and full-featured. Because of its simple UI, it's extremely easy to use. You can easily manage storages on your device, NAS, network-attached storage, and cloud storages. What's more, you can find how many files and apps you have on your device at a glance immediately after opening the app. It supports every file management action: open, search, navigate, directory, copy and paste, cut, delete, rename, compress, decompress, transfer, download, bookmark, and organize for various file formats including media and APK. Major locations and functions of File Manager Plus are as following. Main storage: SD card, USB OTG. You can manage all files and folders on both your internal storage and external storage. Downloads: new files, images, audio, videos, documents. Your files and folders are automatically sorted by their types and characteristics so that you can easily find what you are looking for. Apps: you can see and manage all applications installed on your local device. Cloud: remote. You can access your cloud storage and also remote, shared storage like NAS and FTP server. Cloud storage: Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox, Box, and Yandex. Access from PC: you can access your Android device storage from PC using FTP file transfer protocol. Storage analysis: you can analyze local storages to clean up useless files. You can find out which files and apps take up the most space. Internal image viewer, internal music player, internal text editor. You can choose to use built-in utilities for faster and better performance. Archive management: you can compress and decompress archive files. Supported compression archives, zip. Supported decompression archives, zip, GZ, XZ, tar. Supported devices: Android TV, phone and tablet. App info. Version 3.5.4. Updated on October 3, 2024. Downloads 100 million plus downloads. Required OS Android 5.0 and up. In-app purchases 99 cents minus $9.99 per item. Offered by File Manager Plus. Released on October 19, 2015.
And that's the description of the app. I already have the app installed, and now I'll navigate my way back to the installation page and then tap on the Open.
Play Store. About this app heading. More apps to try. Open button. File Manager Plus. Privacy Policy.
I am now on the first page, and in the middle of the phone, we come across the name of the app.
File Manager Plus.
And just below that,
Privacy Policy.
Privacy Policy. You could tap on that to read about the privacy policy. And at the very bottom across the screen, we have the Next button.
Next button. Next button.
We're now on the second page, and although we heard Next button, in the middle of the phone we have
Access Request.
We have the access request. In other words, it's going to take us to where we could choose to allow it to manage our files and things of that nature. I'll tap on Next.
Next button. All files access. Navigate up button.
We're now on a page that says All File Access, and putting my finger in the middle of the phone.
Allow this app to read, modify, and delete all files on this device or any connected storage volumes. If granted, app may access files without your explicit knowledge.
Now, to the right of that, slightly above that, is
Off, allow access to manage all files, switch.
And I'm going to tap to allow.
On, allow File Manager Plus to send you notifications. Allow button.
Now, we'll need to allow it, even though I'm notorious for not wanting to allow notifications, but the whole idea here is that if you don't allow it, and when it's done completing some task, it's not going to let you know that that task has been taken care of. So I'm going to tap on Allow.
File Manager Plus. Open Navigation Drawer button.
We're now in the menu eye of the app, and the first thing we heard on the top left corner is the Open Navigation Drawer. I want to take you through the UI and see what we have, and then we'll explore some of these. To the right of that Open Navigation Drawer,
File Manager Plus.
we have the name of the app, and moving to the right corner of the phone, we have one single button, and that will be the
More Options button out of grid.
More Options button. Below here, though, all we have in a grid is things like the internal storage, downloads, that typical kind of stuff. I'll show you quickly before we come back to these two buttons at the top. So we got, starting from the left,
Audio 29.7 megabytes, 9,
to the
row
right.
2. Videos 1.6 gigabytes, 173, column
Moving.
2. Documents 1.2 megabytes, 3, column 3. Apps 21.6 gigabytes, 300. New files 645 megabytes. Cloud, column 2. Remote, column 3. Access from network, column 4.
And that's the last item there. As you can see, you could have cloud location if you want to add a cloud storage, for example, whether you want to add Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox, Yandex, etc., etc. Let's go back, though, to the top and look at the other items here. We got a couple items like I mentioned. The first one on the top left corner is that Open Navigational Drawer. And then to the right corner, we have that More Options. Let's get started, though, with that navigational drawer found on the top left corner. I'll now tap on Open Navigation Drawer.
Open Navigation Drawer button out of grid. Selected Storage tab 1 of 3 in list 3 items.
Tapping on Open Navigation Drawer, we got 3 tabs there, right there at the top, and the one that's selected by default is Storage, and then to the right of it,
Bookmark tab 2 of 3.
Bookmark, and then the last one
History tab 3 of 3.
is that History. Now below here, here's what we got in a vertical list.
Home in list.
Got Home,
Main storage 5%. Recycle bin 0B.
And that's the last thing that we have here. I'll now go back.
Open navigation drawer button.
Now let's go ahead and tap on that More Options there on the top right corner and see what that contains.
More options button. Pop-up window. Settings in list.
Tapping on More Options, we got Settings, moving down,
Analyze.
and
Refresh.
that's the last item here in the More Options. Let's go ahead though and tap on that Settings and look at what the settings contains.
Selected Settings. File Manager Plus. Navigate up button out of list.
Tapping on Settings, we're highlighted on Navigated to the top. That's there on the top left corner. Now, moving beyond this, we encounter the following, and I'm not going to be necessarily going into each and every one of these things, as most of them explain themselves as to what they are. And so let's just go through the settings. Here's what we got.
Settings. Premium heading in list.
We come across the premium, and if I didn't mention earlier on, it does have a subscription model, and as a matter of fact, I think it has a couple of them. It does not have any ads, though, even though as a free user, but there are some limitations if you are not a premium subscriber. I'll show you what those things are. Here's what we got, though, under that subscription. We got
Upgrade to premium.
We've got Update to Premium. Let's go in here and see how much the subscription or premium subscription would cost.
Upgrade to premium. Navigate up button out of list.
And moving down,
Upgrade to premium. Subscription. $2.49.
we have $2.49.
You will be charged $2.49 yearly until you cancel your subscription. Previous charges will not be refunded when you cancel unless it is legally required.
So this is an annual subscription of $2.50, when you added taxes and all of that. And below that,
Buy Now button.
you tap here if you want to subscribe to that annual subscription of $2.49. Below that, we got
One-time purchase.
we have the one-time purchase, my own type of subscription that I prefer to an annual or monthly subscription. And below that, we've got
$9.99.
basically $10.
Buy premium features with one-time payment.
And
Buy Now button.
below that,
Premium features.
and this is what the premium features include.
No ads. No ads are shown in the app.
It says no ads are shown in the app, even though as a free user, so far I haven't come across any single ad within the app UI. Moving on,
Theme.
theme, and indeed this is a light theme by default. There's no way to switch to the dark mode if that's what you want. That would require a subscription. So in my, of course, never to be humble opinion, I would like to believe that this is the only thing that the subscription would give you, giving you a dark theme. I don't know, maybe there may be some other limitations, but so far I haven't seen one beyond that.
Get dark theme.
And that's what that is. Now I'll go back.
File Manager Plus. Upgrade to premium in list.
Now we're back to where it talked about upgrading to premium, and below here I'm just going to go through the items. You can go through these things on your leisure time and see what you need to change and what you should leave by default. Here's what we got.
Default apps heading.
Default apps, in other words, if there are apps that you want this thing to be able to open for you, you go in here,
Default apps.
you tap there to go choose those. Moving on.
Built-in apps heading.
Next.
Image viewer check box.
Now it can view your images. If you don't want it, uncheck it.
Video player check box.
You can uncheck it if you don't want it to view videos.
Music player check box.
Same thing. Next.
Text editor check box.
You could also use this in text editing if you want to, and of course if you don't want to, simply uncheck it. Next.
Notification settings heading.
We now come to the notification settings, and below here we've got
Storage is full. Show when the storage is over 98% full.
So by default, it's set to show you when the storage is up to like 98%. If you want to lower that threshold, then you need to tap here to change that. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Storage is full. Off in list.
And you could turn that on.
99%. Checked 98%. 97%. 96%. 95%. 90%. 85%.
I'm just going through the list. You got the drift here. You could choose what you want. In other words, if you wanted to alert you when you are at 80% of your storage or whatever, you could choose that. By default, as I indicated, it's set to 98%. I'll now go back.
File Manager Plus. Storage is full. Show when the storage is over 98% full.
Let's move on down.
Recycle bin settings. Heading.
We come to the recycle bin heading, and in other words,
Use recycle bin by default. Checked. Checkbox.
in other words, when you delete something, it's going to go to your recycle bin. Of course, you can always tap on, I don't want it to go to the recycle bin. But if you don't want anything to go to the recycle bin at all, you could uncheck that right here so you don't have to go through that dialog where it's going to ask you as to whether or not you would like to send that thing to the recycle bin or not. Next.
Show recycle confirmation. Checked. Checkbox.
There we go. Next.
Advanced settings. Heading.
We now come to the advanced settings or advanced heading, and below that,
Always show nav icon. Not checked. Checkbox.
always show the navigation options is not checked.
Detect USB connection. Checked. Checkbox.
So if you plug a USB thumb drive or some other USB device, it auto detects that. Now, if you don't want that, then you simply uncheck it. Next.
Show history. Checked. Checkbox.
That's why we saw it up there, that history there earlier on. Next.
Show system storage. Not checked. Checkbox.
You could choose to show system storage. By default, it's not showing.
File size unit GB.
The file size unit is GB. In other words, if you want to change it to MBs, you could do so.
Show advanced menus. Heading.
And below that heading,
Add bookmark. Checked. Checkbox.
next,
Add to home screen. Not checked. Checkbox.
next,
Hide. Unhide. Not checked. Checkbox.
next,
Open as not checked. Checkbox.
next,
About. Heading.
and we come to the about, and below that,
About version 3.5.4.
and that's the last item. Let's go back.
File Manager Plus. More options button out of list.
Now let's go into apps and quickly show you something before we bring this to a close. I'm going to tap on apps because you could also use this as an app extractor if you wanted to. You can also use it to archive apps or compress apps as well. Here's what I'm talking about.
Apps 21.6 gigabytes 300. Download. Navigate up button out of grid.
So here I am in the list of my apps. I'm going to put my finger down at random.
Adobe Scan 108 megabytes 24.12.17 Google Dynamic in list.
I'm going to long press on this one.
333rd.
So that one is selected. And upon selecting that, though, we have some tabs or buttons at the bottom. Starting from the bottom left, here are the buttons that we encounter.
Backup.
We have backup, and moving right,
Uninstall.
we have uninstall,
Share.
share,
Open.
open,
Store.
or store. That's the last one. In other words, if I tap here, it should take me to the play page of the app that I've selected. Let's tap and see if that indeed is what it does.
Play Store. Open button in list.
There we are.
Adobe Scan PDF Scanner OCR.
And that's what that is. So
File Manager Plus.
I now went back, and that's a quick tour of the file manager, something I find very useful. most especially that it doesn't have ads and it's very accessible. I hope that you find this file managing app a very useful tool to add to the arsenal of file managing apps that you have. Thanks for listening. Well, that's that little demonstration of the file manager. Guys, you have any comments about file managers in general or about this one in particular, and what you like about it and probably what you don't like about it?
I have a question for you. I kind of want to put you on the spot now that we're recording, because you may have mentioned it to me earlier.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
Are you officially switching from Files by Google to this new file manager app as your daily file management app?
Well, so here's the truth. I have maybe like 11 or 12 file managers. I admit that to my shame. And I got Solid Explorer, I got CX Explorer. They're all great file managers. And yet for some odd reason, John, I tend to be using the Google Files Manager, more. Now that I got this one, though, there are certain things I like about it. And, the layout everything is out there. Okay. There's some things about some file managers, in as much as I like them, there are certain things about them that I don't like, maybe the layout and all of that. With this one, I like it, but if you're someone who likes the dark theme, without paying for it, you're not going to get the dark theme. And so that's one strike against the file manager that we just demoed. And so I don't know. I've used it, though. Yesterday, I used it a lot. And so without going to the files manager from Google or Google Files. So I don't know. I'll see if I stay to using it or if I jump back to Files by Google.
So my question is, so you think that the Files by Google is the perfect file manager that you're not finding in any other file manager?
Doggone you, girl. It's from Google, right? Maybe that's why. I'm just kidding. Well, I think, though, that probably the reason why I like the Google Files, for example, earlier on, and it's, old habits sometimes never die. Earlier on, it has that quick share or file sharing, built right into it. I think that probably was the reason why I was using it more than the other ones. Where you could just do quick share from it or, file share from it with my other devices and things like that. But, now I don't know. I really don't know if I, would be using it more than others now that I'm trying this file manager. I'm kind of torn between this and, the CX File Explorer. I think when it all said and done, though, we truly have nice file managers that we can stand behind and recommend as one that one could go for without regretting. And I'm talking about all three of them, be it Files by Google, CX File Manager, or this one that we just demoed. I think they're all very good file managers. Solid Explorer is there. The only thing that I don't like about Solid Explorer, if I turn off the Speak Element IDs, within the TalkBack verbosity, you have those buttons at the bottom when you select something that it will say button, and you'll have to wait till the image description tells you what it is. And sometimes it says a pencil and whatever. And if you don't know what that means, you're not going to know what that function is. So I tried turning off the Speak Element IDs with this file manager, and it's properly labeled. So kudos to those guys because everything is labeled.
Yeah, well, actually, I have used the File Manager Plus for a few years, I think. It's one of the good ones out there. And I remember back then there were ads, like they weren't annoying, but I remember that they were in the windows, like you could find them on the screens. So yesterday, after I saw your demo, I was like, okay, why don't I recheck this app? And yeah, it just reminds me of the old days Actually, I think I used it after the ES File Explorer. I think you remember this one. It was one of the very good file managers, but then they started to bloat it. Do you remember how
they sold it to some place and it became bad? Actually, even had malware in it, and now it's totally gone from the Play Store, right? Yes, it was one of the early file managers out there.
Yeah, it was, and there was also the Astro. I don't know if the Astro is still there. Also,
Astro is still there, and Astro, for you historians, I think Astro debuted on there like in 2009. So it's been there for a long time, and S File Explorer was probably following in its heels.
Yeah, but it's really annoying to have such a very capable file manager goes in this. It used to be very good, and then it was degrading in quality. And as you said, selling it wasn't really the best thing that did it, and then it's now gone. So yeah, but File Manager Plus is one of the good apps out there, and it's still good. However, I prefer CX. Actually, they are very similar in terms of functionality. The interface is different, but like this selection button that you have after each element is there in the two. Well, I prefer to have actions instead, or like to just have the selection when you long press instead of having it next to each item. But it's good, however. Well, I still prefer CX just for one reason. I like the arrangement in tabs more. So you have the local tab and you have the library tab and the network tab. I think this makes them more organized, but actually, yeah, I'm with you. The File Manager Plus is one of the good file managers out there.
So I was comparing the difference, or the lack of difference, between CX and File Manager Plus. And so one thing I did find is that if you set the view to be a grid view, then you can swipe directly between the items. I don't remember if it was in both of them or just one of them, but one of them for sure, when I changed it to grid view, I didn't have to swipe past the toggle each time. So that might make things easier on you, Karine, if you try it that way.
Yeah, I'm gonna test it indeed.
Okay. And another thing I wanted to say is, so I like both of these file managers, and I'm a dark mode guy. I want a dark theme, and I would probably be willing to just pay the $10 to get the dark theme, but I don't think I would ever use these as my main file explorer. And the reason is, the thing I like about Google Files and Samsung Files, or Files by Google and My Files by Samsung, is that when I first opened
from Samsung, so you have to like it.
Well, no, I like what I like about the functionality is that when I open it, there's always my recent files right there. Like as soon as I open it, there's my recent files, and like 90% of the time when I'm going in there, it's to get something I've just recorded, or I've just saved to my phone, or I've just shared with my phone. Like the reason I open the app most of the time is to get to the recent files. So, I mean, obviously in these Explorer or these file managers, you can go to recent files and it will show you all your recent files, but that's an extra step. So I wanted to actually ask Karine if she knows of a way to have it open directly to recent files, because if I could do that, I would use it all the time, because I even thought, because you can save like shortcuts to your home screen for certain folders, but I found out you couldn't do it for like just the recent items page. It has to actually be a physical folder on your device. So I was going to ask Karine, do you know of a way to get CX File Explorer to do this?
No, I don't think that this is possible. Well, for me, I don't ever use a file manager as my main file manager if it doesn't have this recents. But I'm not like you, because I don't want it to be always showing me my recent files. But well, it's good to try to contact the dev and tell him to add a shortcut. I think it would be something good if you are able to add it as a shortcut to the home screen, and then you can just open it whenever you want. I like the idea. I'm going to suggest it actually. So what about trying,
Awesome.
like both of us trying to do it? So it will.
Yeah, let's
maybe,
do it.
Yeah.
So I guess at this point I'll just like use them both, depending on what I'm going to do. If I'm actually like going to explore my file system for some reason, I'll use the CX File Explorer. But if I'm just trying to grab a recent file, then I'll just open my default file manager on my phone, whether it be a Pixel or Samsung, because both of those file managers have that recent files functionality right at the top.
So I think for me, I think I like the layout of the file manager that we just demoed is cleaner of a UI for me when compared to CX File Explorer. I'm not like dumping CX File Explorer by any imagination, but it has a cleaner UI. And I think I'm going to buy that $10 purchase, one-time purchase, because I may not be necessarily using it all the time, but at least I support the guy, and then it keeps it going. And most especially since it's been there since 2015, I don't want it to go the way of the S File Explorer. I remember because back in those days, every time someone wants to have a file manager, I was always suggesting, hey, get S File Explorer and all of that, and now it's gone. So, but I definitely am going to get that subscription. I'm going to buy that $10 purchase for this file manager. I really like the clean UI.
Yeah, I think I prefer the layout as well, just because I think in CX File Explorer they have tabs that you have to sort through, whereas everything's kind of front and center on this file manager. So I think I kind of prefer this one as well. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm a dark theme guy, and CX doesn't offer that. So like you, I might just spend the $10 and use this as one of my file managers. I won't have 12 like you, but I'll have 2.
I guess I'm crazy. Well, I like to try different things, and it's so hard to when you have so many of them. I probably should try to whittle it down, but they're all good ones that I have, so it's hard. All good things must end. Thus, it's curtain drawing time, bringing us to the close of this week's episode. Coming up, though, we give you information on how to get hold of us. Well, with that, we come to the end of this episode. And as always, though, here's some information on how you can get hold of us. John, how do people get hold of us?
To contact us, simply send an email to contactus@blindandroidusers.com. If you'd prefer, you can leave a voicemail by calling +1 307 202 9797. You can join our mailing list by sending a blank email to blindandroidusers+subscribe@groups.io. You can join our Facebook and Telegram groups or subscribe to our YouTube channel using the links in the podcast show notes or YouTube video description. And you can find all of this information and more at our website, blindandroidusers.com.
Thank you so much for that information, John. And again, folks, thanks for listening to us, and Happy New Year to you. We hope that each and every one of you is having a great New Year. From me, it's goodbye.
Goodbye. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Blind Android Users Podcast. Until we see you next week, don't forget to leave us your comments and suggestions via our email contact or using any of our social media sites. Have a great week.